Everybody ready to have a meeting? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Fourth Dimension. My name is Susan Coe. I am an alcoholic, and I'll be your alcoholic chairperson. Okay. Please help me open the meeting with a moment of silence, followed by the Sobriety prayer. Serenity prayer.
Grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change,
Courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. We're glad you're all here, especially the newcomers. But in keeping with our singleness of purpose and our third tradition, which states the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking, we ask that all who participate confine their discussion to problems with alcohol. Is there anybody present at their first meeting? This is not meant to embarrass you. This is just so we can get to know you during the break or after the meeting. Okay, is there anybody from out of town, out of county, out of the universe? Okay, Monica's going to come up here and read the preamble.
Monica!
I'm Monica. I'm an alcoholic. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety.
And Scotty will come up to read the steps. There you go.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Scott, and I'm an alcoholic. Step 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Step 7, we humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, continued to take personal inventory. When we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
He read those steps so fast I didn't even have time to fan myself, for God's sake. Okay, if you could please silence your cell phones, because if you don't, Chris is going to stare at you for 15 seconds. And that's hell. Also, we ask that if you could please refrain from getting up and down during the speakers, but if you must, please do so quietly. If you're going to smoke, we ask that you be away from any buildings. Please be respectful as we are guests of the church. If you see a butt on the ground, please anonymously pick it up. Also, if you have any announcements in between speakers, please see our group secretary, Matt. He cut his hair so you can't recognize him. Stand up. Our first speaker tonight is Bob F. I don't even know who he is. Who's Bob?
Bobby!
Help! Hi, my name is Bob. I am an alcoholic.
I was sitting in my easy chair, wondering whether I should come or not come, or should come or not come. I know I made the wrong decision now, so it's good to be here. I was born in New York City in the Bronx. I could see the Yankee Stadium out of my back windows, and my first idea of a drunk alcoholic, if you will, was typical of most people in here. I saw bums that robbed from the tourists that would come to see the games, and obviously sell the clothes where they found a car to buy their wine and stuff. And I would see them sometimes in the mornings with bottles of wine laid around them and the old overcoat and crap, you know. And that was my first image, and I never got to that point in my drinking, so it was hard for me to accept being an alcoholic. After starting it, I moved out of New York City when I was in 4th grade. We moved up to upstate New York, so I went from a huge city to a small community. I'm talking small. There was like 26 kids in my graduating class, and I managed to graduate 25th. They had Regency exams back in those days, and without a Circle 65, I never got out. I think they're just obviously making room for the next grade level that coming on up through. So, and I heard one of the teachers speak at the graduation, said, "Now you guys are men." And I thought that meant something, and it obviously didn't, because I did not act like what a real man should act like for the rest of my life. I picked up my first drink on purpose at 15 years old, and against my mother's wishes, and I fell in love with beer, and I got sick and tired of that soon, and I graduated to vodka and anything else that was offered to me. And I drank incessantly from then on. I went through all the stages of the heavy puking and the horrible hangovers and the promises and the absolute, as they talk in this book, we just, in the morning I could make a decision, I couldn't follow through at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the cycle would start. So I have to reduce my concept of an alcoholic to a textbook alcoholic, and it tells me just the way I am in the textbook here. And if I'm away from a drink for any period of time, it can be for 2 or 3 days, hours maybe, I get that sense of restlessness, irritability, and discontentedness that so many of us suffer from. And I just can't remember the things that happened to me, the things I did that brought me to a point where I wanted to quit, and not being able to quit, and picking up and not being able to stop. I got married early. I married a high school girlfriend, and she had a child. She had gotten pregnant and got married, and her husband was killed in a car accident. She and I got together, so I adopted a little girl. I went to work for a Metropolitan Life Insurance Company, and I thought I was a career insurance man. And I found that I was hiding behind an image of a 3-piece suit, because inside I just didn't feel like an insurance man. I just had no belief that people would believe me when I was trying to sell them life insurance. But as time went on, I realized that all I was doing for was to make money so I could go out and drink, and that's the way I live. My wife, in Bill's story, they talk about, there's a sentence in there that just blares out, and it said, my drinking disturbed my wife. And I'm not sure it was my drinking that disturbed my wife, but some of the things that I did really disturbed my wife. And any of you have been in my house, in the cellar or another room, some mornings when she acted disturbed, you wouldn't want to have been there either, because I know I didn't want to be. She could just really make some noises. But anyway, I couldn't put up with that. I couldn't put up the responsibility of a new home. I couldn't the responsibility of a child. And one night we were out. The babysitter was home. I come home early, and I Trenton was wondering why the hell she was out, and I knew what she was doing while she was out, and it irritated the hell out of me. But I didn't understand why she would be irritated about me doing the same things. But Apparently women are like that, you know. So in my answer to that, my answer to that was to take what clothes I had and a pillow and a blanket, throw it in the back of my 65 Mustang, and when she came in the back door, I went out the front door. And that's what my answer was to most everything in life. I just could not stand in. I couldn't keep responsibilities that I undertook, and I ended up just living to drink, as it says. And in 1980, I came down here following my parents down 95 from upstate New York to Tampa. And I deluded myself that I was coming down to take care of them, and I didn't have anything left in life. But I had to keep a false image of a sense of pride up that that's what I was doing. And all the way down 95, I was singing the alcoholic song, you know, the geographical change, I'm never going to drink again, I'm going to change my life, get a good job, and I'm going to do all right. Go back home, the hero, you know. And after 2 nights of sitting in the house watching Wheel of Fortune with my mother, we talking about restless, irritable, and discontent. I'm telling you. So my answer to that was, I'm going to go out tonight and look for a job. And where did I go? Some beer and wine joint up in North Nebraska Avenue in Tampa. So that's where I go looking for jobs when I'm in that state. So anyway, so after some real insane activities, I finally one morning a couple gals were in my house, but that's the way I like to roll, you know. It was, I thought that was very important. But one morning she was a bartender, and I like those kind of people. And I came out, and it was a work day, but it didn't matter to me whether it was every night was a Saturday night and every day was a Sunday, as far as I was concerned, the way I lived. But I was shaken. I said, there's something wrong with me. And she said, I know there is. And she went out in my dining room and she opened up the yellow pages, and there was Alcoholics Anonymous. And I could not believe my wildest dreams that this woman that I drank and partied with like a crazy person would try to reduce me down to such a level of So in my first AA meeting over in Temple Terrace, and it's the first time I cried in many, many years. These guys went around and they opened the meeting up just for me and went around and told their stories, and they told everything and more of things that happened to me, and I was just sick and tired of myself. So I fell in love with AA, and I went to many AA meetings and stayed sober for 3.5 years. Never had a sponsor. Never went through the steps. Never thought I'd drink again. And I moved from Tampa over to Madeira Beach, and the typical story of an unsuccessful first-time alcoholic going to meetings. I have an image of it. A woman entered my life, and I fell in love, and hadn't had that experience in quite a while. So I elevated her, put her on an ivory tower, and Alcoholics Anonymous just did not exist for me anymore. And it was a short period of time before I picked up. And the first day I picked up, I was running with a friend that she had introduced me to. He's a crazy wild man from England, and I loved his sense of humor and his crazy things he did. And started drinking around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. By 8 o'clock that night, we were up in Clearwater, and there were some young women there, and others. Chemicals were coming out, and girls were getting undressed, and it's just the way I thought that life was supposed to be. And so I just, in that one act, I really love my wife a lot. I really care a lot about her, but when alcohol, once I had one drink of alcohol, I'll do anything. It's just crazy shit. So anyway, after a few months, she asked me if they still had those meetings that I used to go to when she first met me. She'd never seen me drink before, but having seen me drink, she understood. So I went back to AA, and I went back, and I would stay for 3 years, and I go back, and I just would never get a sponsor, would never do the steps. And I did this over and over, on and on, for many years. So here I am again. I came back in a little over 3 months ago, and I grabbed the guy. I like the way he acts. I like the way he does his AA program, and I enjoy being around with him and his friends. So I'm back here. I was asked to come up here and tell a little bit about myself, and that's about all I dare tell tonight. So thanks a lot for your time.
Good job, Bob. And Chris will come up and read the traditions.
Woo! For the traditions. That's what I'm talking about. My name is Chris Carpenter. I'm an alcoholic. And we cheer for the traditions. 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. 2, for our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself through our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3, the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. 6, an AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7, every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8, Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9, AA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10, Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. And 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities.
Thank you, Chris. And Wes will come up and do the chips.
Hi, my name is Wes Rogers. I'm a recovered alcoholic. Here at the Fourth Dimension Group, we give out chips to celebrate links of sobriety. First, we offer the silver chip for anybody coming back. Anybody want to pick up chip? Start a new way of life? Oh. Rachel and Andrew. All right. We have 30 days. Going once, going twice. 60 days. There we go. That's Lindsay, 30 days. Or 60 days. 60. Very important. We have 90 days. There we go. And I'm going to draw a blank. I'm so sorry. I'm nervous. Give me a... Paulina. Okay, there it is. I remember it. Sorry, Paulina. And now I've lost the other one, so. See what happens when you drink too long? You lose your memory. What was it? Robert. Congratulations, Robert. Okay. And we got 6 months. All right. That would be Ed. And we have 9 months. No, 9 months. Man, we were doing good there too. How about years? Anybody celebrate a year? Or multiples? Oh, there we go. bad with names. That's really sad. So it's really going to show when I'm up here. Jay with 3 years and Marlene with 8. All right. Congratulations on the chips you hold.
Hey, really, what was that? Congratulations to everybody who picked up a chip. I just translated for him. And our main speaker tonight is Amy B. from St. Pete.
My name's Amy and I am an alcoholic. I'm nervous. My sobriety date is December the 25th of 2010. I have a sponsor, a home group, and I have the honor and privilege of being someone's sponsor. This happens every time I get nervous. I have to ask God to come. Today I know that I'm sober by the grace of a loving God. And any success I've had so far at this is far more His success than mine. I was born to a mother who was addicted to heroin and alcohol, and was adopted by the nurse of the doctor that delivered me. And I will be talking about, when I refer to my family, them from here on out. I don't want to say anything dishonoring, because the truth is that I'm an alcoholic because I'm an alcoholic. There's nothing that happened to me in my childhood or any other part of my life that made me who I am. I was a very precocious child, very bright. The first word I learned how to spell, I think I was 3, and it was ATTITUDE. My mother would look at me and start spelling words. The next word I learned was obstinate. I am one of those people that definitely believes that I was born an alcoholic, and I know that I was born restless, irritable, and discontent, and could have used a drink straight out of the chute. It definitely would have helped with kindergarten and first grade all the way through. Because I was the kid that always felt different, you know, and there was something that separated me from you, and I had no self-esteem. Even though I was very bright, I was talented. I started writing music at a very early age, and was very much into the blues and jazz. And one of the very first songs I wrote, I just found it not that long ago. And the chorus starts off, I guess I'm just temperamental. And it was a blues song that I wrote when I was 6. I used to sit around and listen to Kermit the Frog, It's Not Easy Being Green, because I knew I was different. And I just didn't know what it was that made me different. Today I understand that I've suffered my entire life from self. I have, and it has progressed as time has gone on. I definitely believe I was born that way, but I suffer from what I call capital I. And the way I view the world, the way I see things, how I filter information has always been filtered through that capital I of ego self. Definitely hyper-focused on self and a lot of anxiety. There was alcohol in our house. My father was an artist and also had a law degree and worked for the federal government. And he had a lot of anxiety, very intellectual man, and he drank to relax, and also because my mother said he was allergic to kids and stress. So, but he was my hero. My mother and I always had a very contentious relationship. One of my roles, I was kind of the black sheep in the family. Everything was always my fault, whether it was or wasn't, but most of the time it was. And the other role in my family was definitely the comic relief, and it would have gone all right if my mother had had a sense of humor. But she didn't, so she did the best she could with what she had, and I know that today. And my dad was somebody that I worshipped the ground he walked on, and I wound up being a lot like him. In our family, we had the educated, the well-educated, cultured side of alcoholics who, when they drank, still functioned. And then we had the trailer trash drunks that we didn't associate with as a family. And wouldn't you know that I was a trailer trash drunk? Because from the get-go, whenever I drank, everything shut down, and there was no functioning. If something was going to go wrong, it went wrong. So anyway, we moved a lot because of my dad's job. And probably by the time I graduated high school, I think we'd moved around 23 times in 6 different states. That is a pattern that I repeated through my adult life. I took quite a few geographical cures in about 8 different states as an adult, including Alaska. Which by the time I made it there, I figured out that wherever I go, I'm there. It would take Alaska to figure that one out. Anyway, we always had drinking in our family, and my favorite alcoholic, and I thought it was a favorable thing to be, an alcoholic. It was just normal. Was my grandmother Polly, and she lived with us. And she smelled like Budweiser beer and Pall Mall cigarettes, and I thought that every grandmother should smell that wonderful. And I had a problem with my dad's mom because she didn't smell like that. She smelled like Mary Kay. So she was somebody that I loved a whole lot, and of course her and my mother had some issues because of her drinking, but I wound up being a lot like her too. Interesting. So anyway, when I was in the 3rd grade, my grandmother got throat cancer, from smoking and drinking. And she was 60 years old, and she died from this disease. And she lived with us up until the final weeks of her life, but it was very traumatic. At that time, I was 8 years old. It was the most traumatic thing that had ever happened to me. And I took it very personally. Like, she chose to leave me, kind of kid stuff. But, and my mom kind of had some issues after that and didn't do well for a while. And she left us in my brother's charge quite a lot, and my older brother. And lack of power was my dilemma. Because whatever he said went, and he definitely used that power. It's interesting because the story has changed as I've stayed sober longer and longer, because my perception has changed. I know today that he was paying his own price for being my mom's favorite, and he did the best that he could do. But we just kept on going, and my dad's drinking started picking up. He had some health issues, and we would go on family vacations, and my dad would he was federal law enforcement, and he'd sit there with a huge cooler between him and my mom in the front seat and drink the whole way, and I'd be like, I don't want to come on these family vacations, and I got labeled the difficult one. Lack of power was my dilemma. So I was always looking for power, whether it was by saying, no, I'm not going on these family vacations, or I'll show you type of behavior, which I did. Life went, rather smoothly, puberty hit, and definitely that was a typical alcoholic fashion and style. I had lots of emotional outbursts and fun stuff. But was still kind of a good kid, I made decent grades. I had all the potential in the world, and the problem was that I never could apply it to life. And, they would send me to these specialists at school to see what was wrong with me, and they'd always just say it's a self-esteem issue, So anyway, high school, not great years for me. I graduated high school and got into college early admission and went to a private school. And that first semester, of school, I happened to have fallen in love, and my sibling, I have another sibling, died, and kind of suddenly. He was ill for a brief period of time, and I didn't know what to do. All that stuff that I already felt that made me feel different, I felt way different. I can remember thinking that, because it affected my family has never been the same. And I remember thinking, I just want to stop the world from spinning for just a minute and get off. And I would spend the next 23 years trying to stop my world from spinning. So I wound up getting asked not to come back to that school, not because I brought alcohol on campus. It was a totally non-alcoholic campus, but because I was doing stuff like smoking cigarettes like right on the edge of campus at 2 o'clock in the morning, which curfew was midnight. And stuff like it was a Christian private college, and so I wound up getting asked not to come back, which was fine with me. So I came back to St. Pete, where my parents were living at the time, and I swiftly got thrown out of my mom's house because of my ATTITUDE, and I wound up getting this job with these people that drank a lot and smoked some stuff, and I'd never done that before. And I was 19 years old, and I started drinking, and, all of a sudden, the world stopped spinning. It worked. I didn't have to be me, and I didn't have to be present in the moment, because it was way too painful. Because I don't know about y'all, but I have a really high physical pain tolerance, but a very low emotional pain tolerance. And it was magic. And I did things that I don't remember doing. Been places I don't remember going. It was a wild 6 months of my life of drinking almost daily. But I called it binge drinking, but whatever. Semantics. So I drank a lot, and the people that I drank with were always I had these really awesome, colorful friends, and I think the big book refers to them as lower companions. But these people convinced me that I needed to do something with my life. And they're like, man, what are you doing here? You need to do something with your life. And so, I started talking to my mom and dad, and we talked about sending me off to school in Auburn, Alabama. And where you go? So they sent me to school there, and the deal was that I had to pay for, I think, the first quarter or two back, and then they would start paying again. And the first quarter I made a 4.0. And after that, they decided they'd go ahead and pay because, I did so well. Well, what happened next was that they paid for the next couple of quarters of school, which I did not attend. And I always had a knack, too, of not telling them that I wasn't attending until after it was too late to withdraw from anything. And I swear I didn't do that on purpose, but it just happened that way. I met my husband there. Or ex-husband, I should say. And he was, what I know today is that he, at first was my drinking buddy, but he became one of my greatest enablers. And I put him through a lot over the next 7.5 years, off and on. Because what I really wanted to do was to hole up in the little apartment and drink Evan Williams all day long. That's what I wanted to do. And he allowed me to do that for a while. And every time he would try to speak up about something or assert his opinion, I would throw him out. But he would call. Anytime I called him from anywhere, and he would come. And this, even after I'm having other relationships, the whole deal, Anyway, I wound up in treatment at 21, I dabbled in a little powdered alcohol. And probably about the second or third time that I used it, I had a vasoconstrictive myocardial infarction, which is fancy words for a cocaine-induced heart attack. I'm one of these people that I can't touch something, whether it's alcohol or anything else, without stuff happening. I hit a lot of physical bottoms very quickly. And because of that, my poor family, they have no idea about their daughter. Gets this call to come to Alabama that I'm in the cardiac intensive care unit. And, the shame that they felt, I'll never forget the look on my mom's face when she walked into that hospital room. It was a mixture of scared to death and absolutely disgusted with me. And I felt awful. But the reason I wound up going to treatment, my family didn't really think I had a problem. They believed the story I gave them, which was that, it was a one-time thing. The doctor said that the only way I was getting out of there was either that I was going to the psych ward or that I would go to inpatient treatment. So I went to inpatient treatment, and treatment centers back then were kind of shame-based type stuff. They kind of like tore you down and then built you back up. And it was a trip, being torn down in treatment. 7 days after I got out of treatment, it was recommended that I go to AA meetings, which I had been to a few by then. Since the age of 19, I've been trying to come here. And 7 days later, instead of coming to Alcoholics Anonymous, I got involved in a relationship. Did it my way. Anyway, about a year or so later, I wound up in treatment again. And this time, I was in the middle of, I think it was like a year and a half, 2 years later, I wound up in treatment again. And this time it was a little different. I wound up having to drop out of nursing school. I wound up going to a halfway house after treatment. And living in a whole different part of the state because, the problem was my family. So I did not manage to stay sober because I talked myself out of being an alcoholic, which was one of my favorite things to do was to reinvent myself and move. And I always reinvented myself. I don't know if you can relate, but I always reinvented myself as a non-alcoholic. And always wound up becoming an alcoholic rather quickly. No matter where I went, it just followed me. So anyway, I wound up eventually finishing nursing school after another attempt at a really kind of Jesus boot camp type treatment center that I ran away from at the age of 20-something years old. The deal of me coming home was that I had to complete nursing school, so I did eventually, and then I wreaked havoc on somebody else's life. I decided to finally say yes to that man that was in love with me, my enabler, and married him, and we lived together for less than 30 days. I did not drink, I was sober, and I was crazy. I entered into my career. Occasionally I would go to a meeting to pick up a medallion. I think I got 4 of them. But I never had time to go to meetings in between. In the meantime, I was going stark raving mad because what was happening was my disease was progressing. And you could take the alcohol away from me, but you couldn't take the alcoholism away. And I wasn't hearing solution in meetings. I'm sure it was being given, but I could not hear it. It was blocked. And so I went a little nuts and wound up, having to be hospitalized a few times. And, I'm a real drunk. I would never mention to them that I had any kind of problem with alcohol or that I might be an untreated alcoholic. That would be far too easy. So I eventually decided it might be a good idea to straighten up and move to Alaska, and I did that, and it was nuts, just nuts. 5 years of nuttiness. And at the end of that time, in 2002, I had begun to shut down. I got to where I just couldn't function anymore. And I would come home from work and draw all the curtains and blinds and lock myself in my house and not answer my phone and not watch television. I just wanted to be alone, which really was not a good place to be. So I came to Maryland to visit a cousin of mine in 2002, and while I was there, I was taking an early morning jog and was hit from behind by an SUV or a truck. I don't remember which, and had some very severe injuries. And they said it was a miracle that I survived. I have no real memory of most of that time, other than I know that some of the remnants I have from that are that, I lost my passion at that time for music. I forgot anything musical. I forgot, any of the talents that I had kind of just went out the door. And part of my recovery from that and learning how to read and walk and talk and all that good stuff again was, picking up a cello and learning to play it again. But it was slow. Anyway, so I spent the next 5 years, they put me on, long-term disability. I spent the next 5 years basically trying not to be from day to day, losing myself in a bottle and going to the depths of despair from alcoholism. And I spent every day sitting outside on a stoop, playing a handheld video game because that's all I could manage to think about. And I lost vehicles, I lost a career, I lost a family, I lost a home. I'm one of those people that I had to drink until I lost all of it. And I did. And it still wasn't quite enough. I took some more geographical cures. And I had a friend who called me one day, and she said, "Amy, I can't stop drinking." And we had been drinking on the phone together, and she said, "I can't stop drinking. What do I do?" And I did not have a solution to offer her. And 9 days later, she blew her brains out. And her name was Sandy. And she is... the way I make amends to her today is that I do have a solution to offer, and I try to offer that solution wherever I go. If somebody ever says those words to me again, I'll never say I don't know what to tell you. So it's a living amends that I make to her. Shortly after that, I took another little geographical cure, and because I knew that things were going downhill and I couldn't stop it. And so I wound up trying to get into Alcoholics Anonymous and couldn't get sober. Sitting in a doctor's office at 39 years old, and a doctor telling me that I had alcoholic hepatitis and early cirrhosis of the liver, and if I didn't stop drinking, I was going to die. And, I had a decision to make. And the decision I made was to continue to drink. And because I didn't care if I lived or died. A part of me wanted to live because I tried to not drink, but it just wasn't enough. I had to drink until it was enough. And what happened was I became a daily drinker, a 24-hour-a-day drinker. I no longer woke up. I no longer went to sleep. I passed out and came to. And the pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization. For those of you that have been there, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. Laying on the bathroom floor, shaking, sweating, vomiting blood, and trying to praying, asking God, please don't let me die. And just thinking that if I can get another sip of vodka down, I'll be okay. So what happened was I took my last geographical cure to St. Petersburg, Florida, and I don't know why. It feels like full circle, but I came, and I thought that I was going to try religion. And what happened was that I had a keychain or something that somebody saw, and they thought I was in recovery. I definitely wasn't, but she said to me, when's the last time you've been to a meeting? And she confronted my alcoholism, and I lied to her. She knew I was lying. And she wound up getting me to a meeting right before Christmas. And I met this young lady who, and got her phone number, and then went away for Christmas and, was taking somebody else's medication and, all that fun stuff we do. And wound up calling this girl, and when I got off that plane from that trip, that girl met me at a restaurant in downtown St. Pete and took me to my second meeting in the St. Pete area. And I wasn't able to tell her the whole truth about myself either. It was a couple of weeks later. We were sitting in her car outside of my apartment, and I do not know what compelled me that day, but I just told her everything. I told her, I haven't been able to participate in my own life in over 10 years. And there's something really wrong with me. And I just told her everything. I told her about the medication I was taking that wasn't mine. I told her about the daily drinking. I told her everything. And she looked at me with the most compassion I've ever seen. And she said, Amy, what you have is untreated alcoholism. Wow. I got it. And I think the next words she said was, there's a solution, but I didn't hear that at the moment. I just, oh my God, I really am an alcoholic. So I got a sponsor, and I started working the steps. I went to close to 300 meetings in the first 100 days of my sobriety. I was given the gift of desperation, and I still have that gift of desperation. I never want to feel, think, filter information the way that I used to feel, think, or filter information. The first step was a devastating step for me to see the damage and the depth of my alcoholism. And I can remember when I was writing all that stuff down, I would call my friend Melanie, and I'd be like, I'm a real alcoholic. And she'd be like, get over it already. But it was necessary for me to see the depth of despair and to be honest with myself and with another human being about my alcoholism. And the second step came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore sanity. All I had to do was look around, and there were a lot of people who said that they drank like me. I didn't know if I believed them yet, but they were living what looked like good lives, and I wanted what they had. So you guys gave me hope, and that was enough. I didn't have to have the name of my God down or any of that. I just had to believe that it was working for you and that it might work for me. And the third step I found out later was simply a decision to go ahead and do the rest of the steps and trust that God was going to carry me through. But I remember being worried that it hadn't taken, and I called my friend Melanie and said, it hasn't taken. She goes, yes, it did. But I was sitting in a meeting right after I'd done my 9th step, and realized that the 3rd step had taken. It was a little bit of a spiritual light bulb that went off there. The 4th step, they said to be fearless and thorough, and I was, 35 pages typewritten. I left no stone unturned. And my sponsor and I sat down and started to look at that, and we got through 6 of them, and 6 resentments, not 6 pages. And at the end of that, she had a list of my character defects and a list of my character assets and the beginning of my amends list. And that is the first time in my life I had ever seen myself as I really am. It was a relief. I didn't think, oh God, what an awful person. I said, oh, I am not the pimple on God's ass that I thought I was. You know, look, I've got some serious character defects, but it was nowhere near what I thought it was going to be. And I'm just one of us. Magic happened for me during that fifth step. That separation, that thing that separated me, went away. You know, I became one of we. 6 and 7 are steps I practice on a daily basis because for me, I'm entirely willing. It's that gift of desperation I have. Step 7 is about humility for me because I can't do this without God's grace. You know, I don't get to decide which character defects get removed, how they get removed. All I know is I have to practice the opposite of them, and I have to have His help to do that. And step 8. Just briefly, I'm just going to say that I already had most of that list written down, and because of my desperation, I was ready to make all of those amends. The first amends that I made was to my mother. I have not seen her in 8 years. And that amends did not go well. Wait, let me take that back. That amends went perfect. My mom accepted my amend, and my side of the street is clean. But what she also said was that she no longer wanted to be a part of my life. That I seemed to have found, that I sounded better than I've ever sounded. And that I seemed to have found this without them. And she felt like the situation was toxic. And did not want to invite me back into that situation. At the time, I did not think that was a gift. Today, I know it is the most kind, loving thing the woman has ever done for me. While I was working on the 9th step, I was asked to write a letter to my father, and whom I admire a great deal, and to write it as if he was in the room with me, and to say everything I needed to say. And I sat down on July the 20th and wrote that letter, and I wept and wept as I wrote that letter. And what I found out a month later was that my father had died the day before. And I know that my dad was there with me when I wrote that letter. And I feel like that amend was received because, I'm guilt-free. It was interesting, too, because the day I found out about my dad, it was a very sad day. And I had cried a lot, but everybody, my sponsor, my friends, they were all at work. And for some reason, I felt compelled to sit down and finish the rest of my amends letters. And when I met with my sponsor to go over those letters, the first 2 I had written, aside from the one to him, before that day, she's like, you got to go back and rewrite those. Are the rest of these like that? I said, I don't know. So we read the rest of them, and she said, send those. And I feel like my dad helped me with that, I definitely believe that. There's some amends I'll be making the rest of my life. There's some that I cannot make. I've tried to make, and I may never hear from those people again. I am to continue to be a woman of integrity and live with honor and dignity. And those are my living amends. Step 10, I continue to take personal inventory and promptly admit when I'm wrong. It doesn't take much to figure out when ego self has popped up. Because anytime I go over something more than once in my head, think about it, or something bothers me, it is ego self, And I've learned that I cannot be in ego self and God conscious at the same time. It's impossible. Step 11, I love prayer and meditation. And that 11th step prayer is where I found God's will for my life. And it says, Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, that where there is error, I may bring truth, and that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, and that where there are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds. It is by forgiving that one is forgiven. It is by dying to ego self that one awakens to eternal life. And I understood in the 11th step prayer, I meditated on it daily, And that girl who had all the potential in the world and never could amount to anything finally understood what her purpose was, and it was to love and to serve. And which brings me to the 12th step, working with others. What an honor and a privilege it has been. I have been helped by my sponsee far more than anything I have probably helped her with. It is such a privilege to pass this along. I have such gratitude in my heart and so much enthusiasm. And enthusiasm comes from the Greek root word entheos, which means God within. And today I have that consciousness. And I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I love getting to watch that transformation that happens and sometimes to get to be a part of that. And what I know that transformation is today is the calling of our souls to love and to serve. I'm just going to end the way I always end. Well, I just wanted to say also this past year that my biological siblings have re-entered my life. 4 out of 5 of us are in recovery. Who knew? And they're wonderful human beings on spiritual paths, and it could not have happened if I wasn't sober. There have been other things that have been happening in my life. You know, I've had to learn to start to take care of my health because I ignored it for so long. And it's been a really good thing. And I know how to follow directions today. Woo. Anyway, I just want to thank all of you for my sobriety, and I want to say that I am a blessed woman. And blessed comes from the Hebrew root that means happiness that comes from sureness of purpose. And I finally found my sureness of purpose here in Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank you.